The stars twinkled silently as the research vessel Horizon drifted through the outer reaches of the Sol system. Chief Science Officer Park Ju-woo adjusted her instruments, recording the unusual energy signatures that had brought them to this remote sector. "Captain Kim, you should see this," she called, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Captain Kim Tae-oh approached the console, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the screens. 25 years in Earth's space program had prepared him for many things, but not for what appeared on the monitor. A massive vessel of clearly non-human design. "Open communications," he ordered calmly. The communications officer sent the standard greeting package. Minutes passed in tense silence. "Sir, we're receiving a response," the officer said finally. "It's not in any known language." Kim leaned forward. "Run it through all translation protocols." The computer worked for several minutes before producing a message in halting English. "Greetings, Earth vessel. We are Kelveri Dominion. We come in peace." The date, May 17, 2157, would be recorded in history books as humanity's first contact with alien intelligence. Within days, the news spread across Earth. People reacted with a mix of fear, excitement, and disbelief. Religious leaders debated the theological implications. Governments held emergency sessions. The Kelveri vessel moved into orbit around Earth, where it was joined by 2 more ships. They requested meetings with Earth's leaders. Park Ju-woo was selected as part of the first diplomatic team to board the alien ship. She stepped through the airlock with her heart pounding in her chest. The Kelveri stood nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent blue-green skin and 4 arms. Their eyes, 3 of them, blinked in different patterns as they greeted the humans. "We have watched your world for some time," said the lead Kelveri, who called himself Ambassador Lore. "Your species shows great promise." Over the next few months, limited exchanges began. The Kelveri shared some technological insights, particularly about faster-than-light travel, something humans had long believed impossible. "They're not giving us everything," Park told Captain Kim during a private meeting. "Just enough to see what we do with it." Kim nodded. "It's like giving a child a puzzle and watching how they solve it." As nations around the world realized the enormous advantages that would come from mastering the new technologies, an unprecedented era of cooperation began. The Global Space Initiative was formed, pooling resources from every major nation to build Earth's first true interstellar vessel. Commander Lee Hyunjin had not expected to be selected for the mission. At 34, she had risen quickly through the ranks of the Pan-Asian fleet due to her tactical brilliance and cool head under pressure. When the call came, she was testing new defense systems for orbital platforms. "Your analytical approach to unknown situations makes you ideal for first contact scenarios," said Admiral Choi during the briefing. "The initiative needs someone who can think several steps ahead." Lee's father, a retired military officer, hosted a small family dinner before her departure. "This assignment is an honor," she told him as they sat on the porch after the meal, looking up at the stars where the Kelveri ships orbited invisibly. His weathered face remained serious. "Be careful," he responded. "Sometimes gifts come with hidden costs." The warning stayed with her as she boarded Earth's first FTL-capable ship, the EDS Pathfinder. The vessel incorporated Kelveri principles, but was built entirely by human hands, a point of pride for the engineering team. The Pathfinder's maiden voyage took it to the edge of the solar system. Commander Lee stood on the bridge, watching as the stars blurred momentarily before resolving into new patterns. "FTL jump successful," reported the navigation officer. "We are beyond Neptune's orbit." "Begin standard survey procedures," Lee ordered. The Pathfinder's mission was to map the outer solar system in detail using their new sensors before attempting longer jumps. 3 days into the mission, they received a distress call from Outpost Triton, one of 3 research stations monitoring the outer system. "This is Outpost Triton. We are under attack by unknown vessels. Request immediate." The message cut off abruptly. "Set course for Triton," Lee commanded. "Battle stations." When they arrived, The outpost was gone, just debris floating in space. The Pathfinder's sensors recorded residual energy signatures, unlike anything in Earth's arsenal. Before they could complete their analysis, a second distress call came in from Outpost Neptune. Multiple ships approaching. They're not responding to hails. They don't match any Earth design. They're opening fire. This message too ended in static. By the time the Pathfinder reached Neptune, they found only destruction. The third outpost, Pluto Research Station, fell silent before they could even change course. "Send all scanned data to Earth," Lee ordered, "and get me a direct channel to Ambassador Lore." The Kelveri ambassador appeared on screen, his three eyes blinking in what Lee now recognized as a pattern indicating concern. "Commander Lee, what prompts this unusual communication?" Lee kept her voice level. "3 of our outposts have been destroyed by unknown vessels. We recorded energy signatures from the attacks." She transmitted the data. Lore's eye blinking increased rapidly. Surprise, or perhaps alarm. "These are unfortunate incidents," he said finally. "But I assure you, the Kelveri Dominion is not responsible. Perhaps these were automated defense systems from an ancient civilization. Our records indicate several once existed in this sector." Lee studied his expression, remembering her training in cross-species communication. Something seemed off. "With respect, Ambassador, these energy signatures match elements of Kelveri technology you've shared with us." "A coincidence," Lore insisted. "Or perhaps pirates using stolen Kelveri technology. We will assist in your investigation." After the call ended, Lee gathered her senior officers. "I don't believe him," she said simply. "The timing is too convenient. They share FTL technology. Then suddenly our outer system posts are attacked just as we develop the capability to properly patrol those regions." "What are you suggesting?" her second-in-command asked. Lee stared at the tactical display, showing the debris fields that had once been outposts staffed by people she knew. "I'm suggesting that humanity wasn't given technology as a gift. We're being assessed as a potential threat, or worse, as potential subjects." She ordered a full analysis of the debris and a comparison with the limited data they had on Kelveri weapons. Hours later, the results were conclusive. The energy signatures matched Kelveri weapons perfectly. "Prepare for return to Earth," Lee ordered, "and encrypt all our findings. The Kelveri have been lying to us from the beginning." As the Pathfinder turned back toward Earth, Lee watched the stars through the viewport. Humanity had dreamed of contact with alien intelligence for centuries. Now that dream had become reality. And potentially, humanity's greatest nightmare. The truth was becoming clear. They weren't being welcomed to the galactic community. They were being assessed. The attack came at dawn, Earth time. Commander Lee Hunjin was reviewing the evidence she had collected about the Kelveri attacks on the outer system outposts when the alarms blared. She rushed to the bridge of the EDS Intrepid, where chaos had erupted. 7 Kelveri battlecruisers just appeared from FTL jumps, reported her tactical officer, his face pale. "They're positioning above Beijing, New York, London, Moscow, Tokyo, New Delhi, and Cairo." On the main screen, a Kelveri face appeared. Not Ambassador Lore, but a military commander with facial markings Lee had never seen before. "People of Earth," the Kelveri announced in perfect English, "your world is now under the protection of the Kelveri Dominion. Surrender your military assets and prepare for integration into our system. Resistance will result in demonstration strikes." "Sir, we're picking up 12 more Kelveri vessels," called out the sensor operator. "They're heading for Mars colonies and lunar bases." Lee grabbed the communication station. "This is Commander Lee Hunjin of Earth Defense. We request time to discuss terms." The Kelveri commander's 3 eyes blinked in what Lee now recognized as amusement. "There are no terms. You have 30 Earth minutes to begin surrender procedures." The screen went dark. "Get me Earth Command," Lee ordered. But before any coordinated response could be organized, the Kelveri struck. The vessel above New Delhi released a brilliant beam of energy that carved a smoldering path through the city. From her position in orbit, Lee watched in horror as similar attacks began worldwide. "We need to evacuate as many as we can," Lee said, pushing aside her shock. "Set course for New Singapore colony on Mars. They'll be hit next." The Intrepid arrived just as the Kelvary vessels began their assault on the Mars colonies. 3 other Earth ships joined them, the only ones close enough to respond. "Focus all efforts on evacuation," Lee commanded. "We can't match their firepower." For 6 hours, the 4 Earth vessels shuttled between the surface and orbit, their holds packed with terrified colonists. Lee watched from the bridge as New Singapore colony, humanity's largest off-world settlement, was methodically reduced to rubble. "Captain, we can't save any more," her executive officer said gently. "Kelvary ships are closing in. If we stay, everyone we've already rescued will die too." Lee's hands gripped the command chair so tightly her knuckles turned white. "Set course for the emergency rendezvous point. Maximum speed." The Intrepid escaped with over 3,000 colonists packed into spaces designed for a crew of 200. Similar scenes played out across the solar system as the few human ships that survived the initial attack floated with whatever survivors they could save. 3 days later, what remained of Earth's leadership convened in a hardened bunker beneath the Swiss Alps. Lee sat at the conference table, her uniform rumpled from 3 days without sleep. Beside her, Admiral Kang Dongwon's once immaculate uniform was stained with blood, both his own and that of his staff, most of whom had died when Kelvary forces struck Earth Command. "We've decoded more of their internal communications," Admiral Kang said, his voice hoarse. "They consider us vermin. Their messages specifically refer to humans as genetically inferior, suitable only for labor and experimentation." "How many did we lose?" asked the representative from the African Union, her eyes hollow with exhaustion. "Current estimates put casualties at 1.2 billion, replied the UN Secretary General, "including nearly everyone on Mars and the Moon." The Kelvary have established processing centers in 12 major cities. They're sorting people. Silence fell over the room as the magnitude of the disaster sank in. "What can we possibly do against such power?" asked the Chinese premier. Admiral Kang slid a data tablet into the center of the table. "We fight back. Before the attack, we had already begun a classified program based on Commander Lee's intelligence about Kelvary technology. Now we're accelerating it." Images appeared on the main screen, schematics for a ship unlike anything Earth had built before. "The United Earth Defense Initiative," Kang continued, "will coordinate all remaining military assets, but our main focus will be completing this project, codenamed Thunderchild." 2 weeks later, Commander Lee descended deep beneath what remained of the city of Busan. The Kelvary had largely ignored the Korean peninsula after destroying Seoul, focusing instead on regions with higher population densities. A series of elevators took her nearly a kilometer underground, where she was met by Dr. Yoon Min-seo, lead engineer of the Thunderchild project. "Thank you for coming, Commander," Dr. Yoon said, bowing slightly. "Admiral Kang spoke highly of your tactical insights." Dr. Yoon was older than Lee had expected, with silver hair pulled back in a tight bun and hands that showed the calluses of someone who built things herself rather than just designing them. "I understand you've been working on this project since before the attacks," Lee said as they walked through a tunnel carved from solid rock. "Yes. After your reports about the outpost attacks, some of us suspected the Kelvary might not be the allies they claimed to be." Dr. Yoon's face darkened. "I lost my daughter and grandson in the New Singapore attack." Lee touched the older woman's shoulder briefly. "I'm sorry." Dr. Yoon nodded and led Lee through a massive set of blast doors. They emerged onto a viewing platform overlooking an enormous underground cavern. "This isn't just a ship," Dr. Yoon explained, gesturing at the massive construction before them. "It's humanity's last hope." Rising from the cavern floor, the sleek hull of Earth's most advanced warship took shape. Workers swarmed over it like ants, welding, testing, assembling. The ship was unlike any Lee had seen before, not the bulky utilitarian design of Earth's previous vessels, nor the smooth organic curves of Kelveri craft. It was something new. We've incorporated everything we learned from the Kelveri, Dr. Hume continued, but we've also added innovations they don't know about. During the months of friendly exchange, we were analyzing their technology, finding weaknesses they don't even know exist. Lee walked along the platform, studying the ship. How long until it's ready? 3 months at current pace. We've been working around the clock. The Kelveri will find this facility before then, Lee said. Their ground forces are expanding their control daily. Then we'll have to work faster, Dr. Yoon replied simply. Admiral Kang joined them an hour later, after Lee had toured the facility and reviewed the ship's specifications. What do you think? He asked. It's impressive, Lee admitted, but untested, and we'll need a crew willing to attempt what amounts to a suicide mission. Kang's face remained impassive, which is why I'm here. Commander Lee, I'm appointing you as captain of the UEAS Thunderchild. Lee stared at him. Sir, there must be more experienced officers. Most are dead, Kang interrupted bluntly, and none understand Kelveri tactics as well as you do. You predicted their betrayal. You've studied their attack patterns. You survived when others didn't. He handed her a data tablet containing crew files. These are the best we have left. Study them. Choose your team. Lee looked out at the partially completed ship, feeling the weight of responsibility settling onto her shoulders. 3 days ago, she had watched helplessly as billions died. Now she was being asked to strike back against an enemy with vastly superior numbers and technology. Your mission, Admiral Kang said formally, is to show the Kelveri that humanity will not go quietly. His voice softened slightly. And perhaps, if we're very lucky, to make them regret ever finding Earth. Lee straightened her shoulders and saluted. I accept the command, sir. As Kang left, Lee turned back to the viewing window. Below, construction teams welded massive armor plates to the Thunderchild's hull. Earth was burning, its people being enslaved and slaughtered. But here, deep underground, something was taking shape. Not just a weapon, but a symbol of humanity's refusal to surrender. The Kelveri had started this war. Lee was determined that the Thunderchild would finish it. Captain Lee Hyunjin stepped onto the bridge of the Thunderchild for the first time as its commander. The ship's launch was still 2 weeks away according to the original schedule, but Kelveri ground forces had been detected just 50 kilometers from the underground facility. They needed to leave now. Captain on the bridge, announced Executive Officer Park Do-yeon. The crew stood at attention, all handpicked by Lee over the past month. Navigation Officer Choi Jin-won, a quiet man whose simulator scores were the highest in Earth's fleet. Weapons Specialist Ba Sujin, who had helped design the ship's revolutionary armaments. Chief Engineer Ryo Min-ho, who understood the experimental drive system better than anyone. And Communications Director Song Yuna, whose background in xenolinguistics had provided crucial insights into Kelveri tactical communications. At ease, Lee said, taking her place in the command chair. Status report. All systems operational, reported Executive Officer Park. But we're at 82% completion on final checks. Lee nodded. The Kelveri won't give us time for 100%. Begin launch sequence. Through the ship's internal sensors, Lee watched as the massive bay doors above the construction pit began to slide open, revealing a shaft leading to the surface. The Thunderchild's engines hummed to life, a sound unlike any Earth vessel before it. Artificial gravity engaged, announced Engineer Ryo. Inertial dampeners at full capacity. Lift off, Lee ordered. The Thunderchild rose smoothly up the launch shaft. As they approached the surface, sensors showed 3 Kelveri scout ships passing overhead. They've detected us, Communications Director Song reported, her fingers dancing across her console. Let them, Lee replied calmly. Weapons Officer Ba, target the lead scout, but hold fire until my command. The Thunderchild burst from its hidden launch facility, rising rapidly into the cloudy Korean sky. The Kelveri scouts immediately changed course to intercept. "They're calling for reinforcements," Song reported. "Weapons hot," ordered Lee. "Target their communications array only." Baz's fingers moved with precision across her console. A moment later, a focused energy beam lanced out from the Thunderchild, striking the lead Kelveri scout. Its communications array exploded in a shower of sparks. "The other scouts are powering weapons," reported Ba. "Raise shields," Lee commanded. "Navigator Choi, prepare for our first FTL jump." The Kelveri scouts fired, their energy weapons splashing against the Thunderchild's shields. "Shields holding at 97%, reported Engineer Ryu with a note of pride. "The adaptive matrix is already analyzing their weapon frequencies." "FTL coordinates locked in," announced Navigator Choi. "Ready on your command." "Jump," ordered Lee. The stars blurred around them as the Thunderchild executed its first faster-than-light jump. Moments later, they emerged in the outer solar system, near Jupiter. "Jump successful," Choi reported. "Position: high orbit over Jupiter, Europa quadrant." Lee allowed herself a small smile. "Excellent. Now for the real test." The Thunderchild's revolutionary propulsion system was only one of its advantages. Its adaptive shield matrix could analyze and counter enemy weapons in real time. Its hull contained nanomaterials that could self-repair. Most importantly, it carried the Sunburst system, a weapon developed by reverse engineering Kelveri technology. "Tactical display," Lee ordered. The main view screen shifted to show Jupiter's moon Europa. The Kelveri had established a major base there shortly after their invasion, converting it into a processing facility for materials stripped from Saturn's rings. Intelligence suggested it was lightly defended, as the Kelveri believed no human forces remained capable of reaching the outer system. 3 Kelveri cruisers in orbit around Europa, reported Ba. "Standard patrol pattern. They haven't detected us yet." Lee studied the display. "Our stealth systems are working as designed." "Good." She turned to her crew. "This is our first real mission. The Kelveri believe they've broken humanity's will to fight. Today we prove them wrong." She pointed to the largest Kelveri vessel. "We'll target the command cruiser first. Navigator Choi, plot a jump that will put us directly above the base. Weapons Specialist Ba, prepare to target their drive systems the moment we arrive. Engineer Ryu, divert additional power to the forward shields. They'll return fire quickly." The crew acknowledged their orders and began preparations. Lee watched them work, noting the tension in their movements but also their determination. They had all lost family, friends, homes in the Kelveri attack. This wasn't just a military mission for them. "Ready for jump," Choi announced. "Execute," Lee commanded. The Thunderchild vanished from its hiding spot and reappeared directly above the Kelveri base on Europa. The 3 Kelveri cruisers were caught completely unprepared, still maintaining their patrol pattern. "Weapons hot," ordered Captain Lee. "Target their drive systems first." Weapons Specialist Ba executed the attack with surgical precision. The first cruiser's engines went dark before its shields could fully activate. It began to drift, powerless. "First target disabled," reported Ba. The second cruiser reacted faster, turning to bring its weapons to bear on the Thunderchild. Energy beams lanced out, striking the Earth vessel's shields. "Shields at 89%, reported Ryu. "The adaptive matrix is already compensating." The Thunderchild returned fire, its advanced targeting systems finding a weakness in the second cruiser's shield configuration. The Kelveri vessel shuddered under the impact but remained operational. "They're calling for reinforcements," Song reported from communications. The third cruiser was now moving to flank the Thunderchild. "Evasive maneuvers," Lee ordered. "Target the third cruiser's weapon systems." The Thunderchild banked sharply, its maneuverability surprising for a vessel its size. Ba fired again, and the third cruiser's main weapon array erupted in flames. "Second cruiser charging weapons again," Ba warned. "Sunburst at 98% charge," Ryu reported. Lee nodded. This was the moment of truth, their first use of the weapon that might give humanity a fighting chance. Sunburst charge, Ba confirmed a moment later. Target the base's main power core, Lee commanded. The Thunderchild seemed to hum as the sunburst system activated. Unlike conventional weapons, the sunburst emitted no visible beam. Instead, it created a precisely modulated energy field that bypassed shields by matching their frequency. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the Kelveri base on Europa's surface began to glow from within. The energy built rapidly, until the entire facility erupted in a massive explosion that sent ice and debris flying into space. The blast illuminated Europa's surface like a second sun. The two remaining Kelveri cruisers, suddenly finding themselves without a base and facing an opponent unlike any they had encountered before, began to retreat. "Let them go," Lee ordered as Bai prepared to fire again. "They'll carry the message back to their fleet." The Thunderchild's sensors showed 3 more Kelveri vessels jumping into the system, responding to the distress call. "Navigator, prepare for jump back to Earth orbit," Lee commanded. "Communications, prepare a tight beam transmission to Earth Command." As the Thunderchild's engines powered up for the jump to safety, Captain Lee dictated a brief message. "First strike successful. Humanity stands." The message would give hope to those still fighting on Earth. It would tell them that the Kelveri could be hurt, could be surprised, could be defeated. As the stars blurred around them once more, Lee looked at her crew, tired but triumphant. This was just the beginning. The Thunderchild had proven itself in battle, but one ship alone couldn't win a war against the Kelveri Dominion. But it could inspire resistance. It could gather intelligence. It could strike where the enemy least expected. It could be the spark that ignited humanity's fight back against those who had come to conquer them. Over the next 6 months, the Thunderchild became a ghost that haunted the Kelveri Dominion. The ship would appear suddenly, strike with devastating precision, and vanish before reinforcements could arrive. Captain Lee Hyunjin studied each encounter, learning Kelveri tactics and weaknesses. "They always follow the same response patterns," she told her crew during a strategy session. 3 ships minimum for any patrol. Command vessels always positioned at the center of formations, and they never expect attacks on their supply lines. The Thunderchild used this knowledge to devastating effect. They struck a fuel depot near Mars, destroying 6 tankers. They attacked a communications relay near Venus, cutting off Kelveri forces from their command structure for 3 crucial days. They even raided a Kelveri weapons facility on Mercury, stealing technology that Earth scientists eagerly studied. After each successful mission, recordings and technical data were transmitted to the hidden resistance bases on Earth. Engineers worked tirelessly to adapt Thunderchild's innovations to the remaining Earth vessels. Slowly, a true resistance fleet took shape. The EDS Phoenix, commanded by Captain Han Ji-ho, was the first to join the Thunderchild in space. The Phoenix had been a civilian transport before the invasion, now retrofitted with shields and weapons based on Thunderchild's designs. It specialized in evacuation missions, rescuing human captives from Kelveri labor camps. "Not as pretty as your ship," Captain Han joked during their first joint mission briefing. "But she gets the job done." Together, they liberated a mining camp on Ganymede, rescuing over 300 humans and dealing another blow to Kelveri operations in the outer system. By the 4th month, 5 more Earth vessels had joined what was now called the Liberation Fleet. Each specialized in different missions. The Defiant focused on intelligence gathering, the Valiant on direct combat support, the Horizon on long-range reconnaissance. The Kelveri responded by increasing patrols and fortifying key facilities, but they had grown complacent after their easy victory over Earth, and their rigid command structure made it difficult for them to adapt to the humans' guerrilla tactics. During the 5th month, the Thunderchild pushed beyond the solar system for the first time, targeting a Kelveri supply convoy near Alpha Centauri. The mission was a success, but as they prepared to jump back to safety, sensors detected a distress signal. "Unknown vessel design," reported Navigator Choi. "Heavily damaged. One life sign. Could be a trap," warned Executive Officer Park. Captain Lee studied the sensor readings. "The damage pattern doesn't match Kelveri weapons. Bring us alongside and prepare a boarding team." Lee led the team herself, accompanied by Security Chief Kwan and Medical Officer Jin. They boarded the damaged ship through a breach in its hull. Inside, they found an environment unlike anything they had encountered before. Warmer, with higher humidity than human preference. They found the survivor in what appeared to be the ship's control center. The alien was taller than a human, with iridescent feathers covering its body and a prominent crest on its head. Multiple wounds showed through torn clothing. Medical Officer Jin approached carefully, scanner in hand. Atmosphere similar to Earth standard, but higher nitrogen content. The alien appears to be female, based on biological readings. Injured but stable. The alien's eyes, 4 of them, arranged in a diamond pattern, opened as Jin approached. She spoke, her voice musical but incomprehensible. "Universal translator working," Communications Officer Song said through their comms. "Give it a moment to analyze linguistic patterns." After several attempts, the translator began producing rough translations. "You, not Kelveri," the alien said. "You defeated them? Impossible." "We're from Earth," Lee explained. "The Kelveri attacked our world, but we're fighting back." The alien's feathered crest rose in what they later learned was an expression of surprise or excitement. "I am Commander Pell of the Naori Free Forces," she said as the translator improved. "My people have fought the Kelveri for generations. They conquered our homeworld centuries ago." "Your ship," said Naori Commander Pell, her feathered crest rising further in excitement. "It defeated Kelveri hunters." "How?" Back aboard the Thunderchild, after Commander Pell's wounds were treated, Captain Lee made a decision that would change the course of the war. She shared information about the Kelveri shield weaknesses they had discovered, specifically how the shields had a recycling phase lasting 3.2 seconds after absorbing concentrated energy. "This timing gap is short," Lee explained, showing Pell tactical recordings from their battles, but consistent across all their vessels. "If you time your attacks to hit during this window, their shields offer no protection." Commander Pell studied the data with her 4 eyes blinking rapidly. This could change everything. "The Naori Rebellion has been fighting for generations, but we've never found such a critical weakness." Lee nodded. "We've learned much about fighting the Kelveri in a short time. Necessity forced us to look at their technology differently." "My people will want to ally with yours," Pell said firmly. "Together, we could do more than just survive. We could defeat them." The Thunderchild escorted Commander Pell to a hidden Naori outpost. Within weeks, Naori ships began coordinating attacks with the human fleet. News of the alliance, and more importantly, of effective tactics against the supposedly invincible Kelveri, spread quickly among other subjugated species. The crystalline Lithori, whose silicon-based biology made them especially valuable as slaves in Kelveri mining operations, were the next to join. Their delegation arrived aboard a stolen Kelveri shuttle, their crystalline bodies glittering under the Thunderchild's lights. "We have watched your attacks from our prison mines," said Elder Crix, their leader. "You have given us hope where none existed before." The aquatic Mer joined soon after, bringing their expertise in 3-dimensional combat tactics developed in their ocean homeworld. Within 6 months of the Thunderchild's first mission, what began as a desperate last stand by a single Earth ship had grown into the Liberation Alliance, 4 species united against their common oppressor. Captain Lee found herself at the center of this growing coalition. The Thunderchild became more than just a warship. It was a symbol of resistance that inspired others to fight back. During a particularly daring raid on a Kelveri research facility in the Proxima Centauri system, Captain Lee led a team to secure intelligence about Kelveri fleet movements. What they found sent a chill through the entire alliance. "They're gathering their forces," Lee told the Alliance Council. which now included representatives from all 4 species. The Kelveri Supreme Fleet, over 50 capital ships including their dreadnought, the inevitable dominance. They're planning a massive assault on Earth to crush the resistance once and for all. The council chamber erupted in concerned voices. "We cannot match such a force," said the Lithori elder. "Perhaps we should evacuate as many humans as possible," suggested the Mer Admiral. Commander Pell's feathered crest flattened in what Lee now recognized as determination. "No, this is our opportunity." Lee nodded in agreement. "They're committing everything to this assault. Every major warship, their best commanders, their most elite troops. Which means we have one chance to end this, not just for Earth, but for all our worlds." The council fell silent as Lee activated a holographic display showing the Kelveri fleet formation. "We've spent months hitting them where they don't expect us," she said. "Now we need to hit them where they think they're strongest." The plan that formed over the next hours was audacious, risky, and might cost them everything. But as the council adjourned, there was a sense of purpose that hadn't existed before. The Kelveri believed they were gathering to deliver a final blow to a troublesome species. They didn't realize they were walking into a trap set by the very people they had underestimated. A trap that could bring down their entire dominion. The Kelveri Supreme Fleet appeared at the edge of the Sol system like a storm gathering on the horizon. 57 warships moved in perfect formation, led by the massive dreadnought Inevitable Dominance. The vessel was twice the size of anything humans had ever built, bristling with weapons that could reduce continents to ash. On Earth, millions looked up at the night sky with dread. The fleet was visible even to the naked eye, a collection of new stars that everyone knew brought death. Captain Lee Hunjin stood on the bridge of the Thunderchild, studying the tactical display. Earth's combined defensive forces numbered only 22 vessels. Against any normal enemy, such odds would be hopeless. But the Kelveri were not facing a normal enemy. "All Alliance commanders, report in," Lee ordered. One by one, the commanders confirmed their readiness. 5 human vessels, including Captain Hans Phoenix, 6 Naori strike ships, 4 Lithori cruisers, and 7 Mer interceptors. A small force, but each ship carried weapons and shields based on Thunderchild technology. The Liberation Alliance fleet gathered in the shadow of Mars, hidden from Kelveri sensors by the planet's magnetic field. "They expect us to defend Earth directly," Captain Lee explained during the final briefing. "Their arrogance remains their greatest weakness. They cannot imagine we would do anything but the obvious." Lee highlighted the inevitable dominance on the tactical display. "While Earth's defensive platforms engage their forward ships, our fleet will execute a precision jump behind their formation and target their flagship directly." Commander Pell of the Naori nodded, her feathered crest raised in determination. "Without their central command, their rigid hierarchy will falter." "This plan is audacious," said Elder Crix of the Lithori, crystal facets glinting in the light. "But I believe it can succeed." The Kelveri fleet moved toward Earth in a textbook attack formation. Their confidence was absolute. Why wouldn't it be? They had conquered dozens of worlds, and while the resistance had been annoying, they still commanded overwhelming force. Earth's orbital defense platforms opened fire as the Kelveri crossed the Moon's orbit. Powerful energy beams struck the forward Kelveri vessels, forcing them to raise shields and slow their advance. "The diversion is working," reported Navigator Choi. "Kelveri fleet is responding as predicted." "All ships, prepare for synchronized jump," Lee ordered. Target coordinates locked on the Inevitable Dominance's rear quadrant. The Alliance fleet vanished from their hiding place near Mars, reappearing an instant later directly behind the Kelveri flagship. The Thunderchild and 5 allied ships dropped out of FTL so close that the massive dreadnought filled their view screens. "They're raising rear shields," reported Weapons Specialist Ba. "But their forward shields are still engaged with Earth's defenses." "Target their primary power couplings," ordered Captain Lee. "All ships, coordinated sunburst on my mark." Across 6 vessels, sunburst weapons charged simultaneously. "Mark," commanded Lee. The weapons discharged as one, creating a synchronized energy field that overwhelmed the dreadnought's shields during their critical 3.2-second recycling phase. Power couplings exploded across the massive ship's hull. "Direct hits on all targets," Bay reported. "Their shield generators are offline. Their weapon systems are at 40% capacity. All ships begin attack pattern Delta," Lee ordered. The Thunderchild plunged forward, penetrating the massive vessel's defensive perimeter. The rest of the Alliance fleet broke into smaller groups, striking the confused Kelveri formation from multiple vectors. Naori ships targeted communications arrays. Lithori cruisers focused on weapons platforms. Mer interceptors disrupted engine systems with precision attacks. As expected, the Kelveri ships broke their perfect formation, many turning back to protect their flagship. This created gaps that Earth's defensive forces immediately exploited, launching a counterattack. On the Thunderchild's bridge, emergency lights flashed as the ship absorbed heavy fire from the dreadnought's secondary weapons. "Hull integrity at 42%, reported Engineer Rio, fighting to keep his station operational as systems sparked around him. "Shield generators are failing. One more direct hit, and we're finished." Captain Lee made the decision she had prepared for since the mission began. "Executive Officer Park, you have the bridge. Maintain attack position and prepare to receive extraction team on my signal." "What are you planning, Captain?" Park asked, concern evident in his voice. "To end this war," Lee replied simply. She turned to Communications Director Song. "You're with me. Alert the strike team to meet us in Launch Bay 3. Minutes later, Lee was strapping herself into a tactical insertion pod alongside Song and 6 security officers. The small craft was designed to penetrate enemy hulls, allowing boarding teams to enter. "This is likely a one-way trip," Lee told her team honestly. "Our objective is the Dreadnought's command center. We'll deploy the neural disruptor and send the stand-down code to the entire Kelveri fleet." The insertion was violent. Their pod slammed into the inevitable Dominance's hull, cutting through metal with focused energy beams. Alarms blared as they emerged into a corridor filled with armed Kelveri soldiers. The battle through the ship was brutal. 2 security officers fell in the first exchange. Another was wounded protecting Song as she hacked into the ship's internal systems to guide their path. Lee led from the front, her determination never wavering even as their numbers dwindled. Finally, they reached the command center. The doors were sealed, but Song's hacking and the remaining security team's breaching charges opened the way. Supreme Commander Vor waited inside, flanked by elite guards. The Kelveri leader was larger than others of his species, with elaborate facial markings denoting his high rank. "Surrender, Commander," Lee demanded, her weapon trained on him. The Kelveri guards raised their weapons, but Vor gestured for them to hold. "Your resistance is impressive but futile," the Kelveri leader hissed, his 3 eyes blinking in what Lee recognized as amusement. "You've caused damage, yes, but the Dominion spans hundreds of worlds. This battle means nothing." "This isn't resistance," Lee replied calmly. From her pocket, she withdrew a small device that Dr. Yoon had designed based on Naori biological data about Kelveri neural systems. She activated the neural disruptor, which emitted no sound or visible energy, but affected the specific brain patterns of Kelveri physiology. "This is humanity showing you exactly who we are." The effect was immediate. Vor and his guards froze, their nervous systems temporarily paralyzed. Song rushed to the command console, connecting her device and transmitting the stand-down codes with Vor's authority markers attached. Throughout the system, confused Kelveri captains received unprecedented orders from their supreme commander. "Stand down all weapons. Power down engines. Prepare for diplomatic contact." The surrender of the Kelveri Dominion was transmitted across all frequencies. The message reached beyond the solar system, spreading to every corner of the Dominion. Throughout the galaxy, subjugated worlds learned that the undefeatable had been defeated. 3 months later, Captain Lee Hunjin stood in the newly rebuilt United Nations Hall in Geneva. Around her were representatives from 27 different species, many seeing Earth for the first time. Some had traveled for weeks to attend this historic gathering. "The Galactic Concordat before you," said Lee, addressing the assembly, "establishes not just peace, but cooperation among all our civilizations. Not domination, but partnership. Not subjugation, but freedom." One by one, the representatives signed the document. The Kelveri representative, not Vor, who awaited trial for war crimes, but a reform-minded diplomat, was the last to sign. As Lee watched, she thought about the long journey from that first contact, through betrayal and near extinction, to this moment of hope. The Thunderchild had been more than a ship. It had become a symbol of what determined people could achieve against impossible odds. Earth's Thunderchild had not just saved humanity. It had transformed the galaxy itself. The end.